What's going on, guys? Boss Basics here, back to another video, and today I'm here to give you guys yet another album review and my most anticipated album of 2025. And ever since I heard this band was releasing a new one, I was so excited for it. And today I'm going to be talking about the newest offering from German Thrash Legends, or gods at this point, Sodom with the Arsonist. Sound comes out today on the 27th of June of 2025 on SPV/Steamhammer Records, a label they've been on ever since their debut. I believe since their debut EP in The Sign of Evil that came out in '85. So yeah, they've been on a label for a good while now, which is pretty cool. For actually about 40 years, which is very rare. Like, name me a band that's been on a label for over 40 years has never switched labels. That's pretty cool if you ask me. Anyways, this is their 16th studio album overall, or it's their 16th album because I'm not including their in the Final Sign of Evil. It came out in '07. That was a re-recording of In the Sign of Evil. So this is technically their 16th album, but overall they have 17 albums overall. But this band formed in Germany in 1982. And if you guys have not noticed that this is my favorite band of all time, I actually did a ranking of these guys about a year or so ago, and that was a lot of fun. And these guys are essentially the German equivalent of Slayer. And if you listen to songs like Persecution Mania, Ancient Orange, Tap in the Vein, Code Red, M16, all those albums, you get a lot of Slayer involved in it. And these guys obviously have some classics, the stuff I mentioned, obviously. And they are responsible for my favorite thrash metal album of all time in the aforementioned M16. So there you go there. But yeah, when I found out they were making a new album based off the first single that they put out, I was very hyped for it. And and it's kind of weird too because apparently after this album is released, they're going on an indefinite hiatus. So I'm not sure if this is a farewell to the band or what, but yeah, it seems like they're going to be on hiatus for a while. So might as well crank an album before you do that. So yeah, without further ado, let's kick off with the opening track, which is the title track. And I was a little bit disappointed with this one because it's like a minute of just samples of like war and destruction and violence and all that stuff. Essentially what you come from Sodom. But yeah, it's a lot of samples that are like more war based, which that's what they are. But then it leads into the actual track, Battle of Harvest Moon. A lot of M16 vibes on this song in particular. Groovy chorus, almost a doomy breakdown. The bass pops up, which, Tommy Angel Ripper, not only is a fantastic vocalist, but he's a hell of a bassist too. Like, you listen to his his bass chops on like Persecution Mania and Better Off Dead, and even Get What You Deserve to a lesser extent. Like, the bass on those albums are absolutely fantastic. And even though the bass pops up here and there, when it does show up, it actually is really tasty. Then we get to Trigger Discipline, which is the first single that they released, and actually the first song I heard from this album, which I tend not to do that with albums because I don't want to ruin the album for myself, but god damn it, I love this band so much, so I couldn't really help it. But a lot of Slayer involved into it. Really nice dissonant solo that I think is really nice, and dissonance within the solos is kind of there in spades, but there was one song in particular that really goes into those dissonance here a little bit, but really damn good stuff. But yeah, that's all I really need to say about that. Then we get to The Spirits That I Called. Very groove-laden. It really reminds me of something off of the self-titled album, man. It kind of feels like I'm going to repeat myself a little bit because they're really calling back from stuff that they've done in the past, like the M16, the self-titled, and another album I'm going to be getting here in a bit, but it really feels like they're trying to pull like the best stuff from their other albums and put it on this one to kind of give it a more of a nostalgic feel for it, and I feel like it works to an extent too. Especially when you have a track called Witch Hunter, which is the 5th track, which is a more of akin to their former driver, Chris Winchunner, which, rest in peace, my brother. He passed away. Oh God, was it a few years back he passed away? But it's, it's a lot faster. It's a very catchy one. Kind of something similar to Azkaban, like a little more of a punky kind of vibe to it. Off of Ancient Orange, which is really, really, really cool. Then we get into Scavenger. Now, this one might be one of my favorite tracks of the entire album because it has this very heavy groove to it. Like, it's similar to what Spirit World is doing right now. That I think is really, really, really nice. But you get some atonal riffs, which is not really common with Sodom. They may have done it here and there, but atonal riffs are not really in this band's catalog. But it was really nice for them to bring something out from that. Nice atmosphere as well. I think really complements the song and complements the riffs in general. Then we get to Gun Without Groom. Very Tap in the Vein-esque. Like, it has those more death metal-like elements to it, which Tap in the Vein is one of the best Sodom albums, if you ask me. That's borderline death metal, but it's still a more thrash influence. But, yeah, this has some more, like, D-beat stomps and more, like, death metal tremolos. I think is really, really, really nice. So, yeah, that one's one of my favorite songs in the entire album. Then we get to Tapophobia. I believe that's how you say that one. It's more groove-laden, again, kind of similar to the Spirits that I called. But not much more needs to be said. That was another single that they released as well. But, yeah, nothing really to that song in particular. It's just groovy. Nothing more, nothing less. Then we get to Same Insanity, full-on Slayer. Like, this is similar to what, like, Slayer was doing in the 2000s. Like, God Hates Us All and Christ Illusion. Which I think is really nice, but it does kind of have a bit of a callback to like their 80s stuff, like maybe like Seasons in the Abyss, for example, which I think is all really, really, really nice. Then we get to AWTF, which is a tribute to the band Tank, to their former frontman, which is really cool. This is more so of like a classic heavy metal track, but with their own spin on it, I think is really nice because you still have like the more Sodom intensity to it, but it's very much like a Saxon and more to a lesser extent a Motorhead track that I think is really cool. And Tank is one of those bands I feel like I need to check out because I believe one of the members of Motorhead, I believe it was Phil Campbell, I believe. He actually did produce... Wait, was it Phil Campbell? Let me see really quick here. I think it was. I'm trying to think. No, it was Eddie Clark. Never mind. Sorry, I blanked on that. I blanked on that. I apologize for that. It was Fast Eddie Clark, I believe, that produced the Tank album back in the 80s when he left Motorhead. So, yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, it was Lemmy, Eddie, and Phil Taylor. Again, I apologize. I completely blanked on that. But anyways, back to the album. Yeah, very much a Saxon and like a Motorhead kind of like track, but with their own spin on it. I think it's actually really, really, really cool. Then we get to Twilight Void. More the same with Tapophobia. It's more groove-laden. And that will lead into like a negative that I have with this album, or one of the couple negatives I have. Then we get to Obliterations of the Aeons. Again, more groove-laden like the last track, but again, it has that more Spirit World kind of crunch to it that I think is really, really, really cool. But then we get to the final track, Return to God in Parts, and this is a very catchy track. Again, it is groove-laden, but there's a little more variety with this one. But there's like Slayer dive bombs everywhere, and has like some kind of like weird atmosphere at the very end of the track. But I think it's actually a really, really, really nice closer. So I do love a good chunk of this album, and I would say like 80% of the tracks I do like here. If there was a complaint or two that I had, is number one, the album does go a bit long. Like, I felt like they could have cut off like 3 tracks off of this album, make it 40 minutes instead of almost 50, and I think it would have been a nice cohesive package right there, if you ask me. Like, if you would have taken off Tapophobia, Twilight Void, and Obliterations of the Aeons, I don't really think it would affect the album as much. And number two, the production could have been a little bit better. I feel like the drums are a little too forward in the mix. The guitars kind of do take a little bit of a back seat. I don't mind the tone on the album. I think the guitar tone is actually really nice, but I feel like the drums are a little bit out front in the mix. They could have taken it back a little bit and bring up the guitars a little bit more. And maybe the bass popping up here and there isn't the worst thing in the world, but you know, when it comes to Sodom, production's never been their strongest quality, except for maybe like stuff in the 80s and a little bit of the 90s. But yeah, when you come to Sodom, you don't really think of production. You think of the riffs, and you think of the awesome vocals and the awesome song titles. So, yeah, and while the songs can be a little bit generic and a little bit, you know, thrown together at some points, I do think for the most part this was a really, really, really damn good album. And, you know, people might call me biased for saying this, but I'm going to give this 4 stars. I actually thought this was a really, really, really good album. Was my expectations a little bit too high? Yeah, I will admit that. But at the same time, I do feel like the band at least embraced the fact that we're going to be gone for a while. Here's an album that I think a lot of fans will enjoy. And while I do think it's a little bit weaker than their last album, Genesis 19, that I thought was a killer album, this is still pretty damn good for the most part. Again, trim the fat off a little bit of the tracks, and maybe production could have been tweaked a little bit. I think you would have yourself a really, really, really damn good album. But still, I liked it. 4 stars for me. So guys, what did you guys think about The Arsonist by Sodom? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment, tap the bigger subscribe button, and tap the bell so when I upload, you guys will be notified. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Most importantly, join the herd. Till guys next video. Peace out.